Okay. See how this goes. So apparently TikTok doesn't like me today. Guess we'll just see how this goes. Oh, I hope we're all doing well tonight. I hope everybody's doing all right. TikTok seems to be seriously suppressing my content today. I don't know if anybody saw the promo video that I posted for tonight's live. It is currently still sitting at 0 views. Yeah. So, and I was setting up the live earlier, and it really was giving me a hard time. It was getting all kinds of errors, and tried doing the same thing on my phone, and it was doing the same thing whether it was on my network or on the internet at large. So, yeah. I've seen some really odd and strange changes on TikTok recently. Yeah, bugs galore. There we go. Yeah, I've been seeing the same thing, and but it does appear that I've got a few of you here on TikTok, and I actually have somebody watching over on YouTube. So welcome. You're my first commenter on my YouTube live, which I think is awesome. I appreciate you. And I give it a couple more minutes here for people to start to filter in. Hopefully, you know, if you guys want to, especially here on TikTok, if you guys want to share the live and like the ever loving crap out of it, that might get me in front of a few more people. I am currently at 666 likes. Boy, if that doesn't tell you. But you know what? And if it only ends up being an intimate group of 2 or 3 this evening, I guess that's just what it'll have to be. It kind of sucks though, because we are coming right down to the end of A Wrinkle in Time, which I hate for the people that have been following along for like the last 3-4 weeks to miss the end of the end of the story. But it could be. And I did post a video about that earlier today. And you know what, politics or not, I'll sit here and I'll say his name and the others' names all day long. Keith Porter, Renee Good, Alex Preddy. I will not sit here and allow the narrative to be changed from what we all saw. So if they want to suppress that, you know what? I'm not going to let it stop me from talking about it. Indeed. And also the orange dumpster fire. Actually, Mouse and Motorcycle should have been this evening, but yes, absolutely. Should have been this evening, but Wrinkle in Time has taken a little bit longer than I anticipated. I'm having the same reading pace and scheduling issues as I am for my Wednesday lives. I miscalculated for The Willows by Algernon Blackwood, which I will be finishing this coming Wednesday. So if you were here last week, I only did about 2/3 of it, and before I kind of hit the 2-hour mark where my voice just doesn't cut it. So I'll be finishing that on Wednesday, and then it'll be after that. I got to relook at my schedule, because I had 2 books planned in February. And I had some other things. So, yeah, they're suppressing the crap out of this. It's like my current real-time viewer count is 2. The last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. I think I'm going to do Mouse and Motorcycle either way. So yeah, by this time in the live, I would normally have close to 40 or 50 people, and there's currently 2. Oh, I love doing this. I really do. But holy crap. Yeah, I mean, there's been nights I've had 140, 150 viewers at a time. And you know, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Um, hopefully TikTok will iron their crap out. But and I'm like, why? You know, it's like, do they not like, you know, reading bedtime stories? It's like, yeah, yeah. I think it's I'm being repressed, man. Just reminds me of the joke from The Simpsons when Bart gets asked by someone about his father, and it's like, yeah, well, Homer's always complaining that Whitey's keeping him down. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right. I'm being suppressed. Help! 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 I'm being repressed. Come and see the violence inherent in the symptom in the system. You're a king? I didn't vote for you. You don't vote for a king. I just, don't get me started on Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I could do the whole freaking movie. All right, 2 more minutes and then we'll get started. We have still 2 people in here, so that's okay. But it's all right. We'll just work with it. No, it went back down to 2. Help! Help! I'm being repressed. Can't I have a little bit of the peril? No, it's too perilous. What? Behind the rabbit? It is the rabbit. Freaking love that movie. I appreciate that. I don't know if I would listen to me do Python, but you know, hey. Demand a shrubbery. All right. So, you know, if it's only ever 2 of you. I've noticed, you know, I did kind of scratch through um TikTok a little while ago, and I saw a couple of other pretty big creators that way bigger than me, that like they're like they had one of them had like 4 viewers, and like normally they're like hundreds, you know. I'm like, all right. So I haven't seen Songbird yet, so she usually comes in here and beats the crap out of the share button. But all right, damn the man. We're not going to let the man keep us from reading tonight. So we left off. The chapter that we left off going to is called Absolute Zero. And we are 70. Well, I am grateful to have you on YouTube or TikTok or wherever you would like to watch from. I do truly appreciate that you're here. For everybody that is here, I appreciate that you're here. It means a lot to me. All right. Okay. Seriously, I'm like sitting here going, you got to do it. You got to do it, but they're going to mention it. You got to do it, but they're going to mention it. Damn it. It's a stem, okay? All right. Absolute zero. The first sign of returning consciousness was cold, then sound. She was aware of voices that seemed to be traveling through her across an Arctic waste. Slowly, the icy sounds cleared, and she realized that the voices belonged to her father and Calvin. She did not hear Charles Wallace. She tried to open her eyes, but the lids would not move. She tried to sit up, but she could not stir. She struggled to turn over, to move her hands, her feet, but nothing happened. She knew that she had a body, but it was as lifeless as a marble. She heard Calvin's frozen voice. "Her heart is beating so slowly." Her father's voice. "But it's beating. She's alive. Barely. We couldn't find a heartbeat at all. At first. We thought she was dead." "Yes." "And then we could feel her heart very faintly, the beats very far apart, and then it got stronger. So all we have to do is wait." Her father's words sounded brittle in her ears, as though they were being chipped out of ice. Calvin. "Yes, you're right, sir." She wanted to call out to them, "I'm alive! I'm very much alive! I've only been turned to stone!" But she could not call out any more than she could move. Calvin's voice again. "Anyhow, you got her away from it. You got us both away. We couldn't have gone on holding out. It's so much more powerful and strong than... How did we say it, sir? How did we manage as long as we did?" Her father. "Because it's completely unused to being refused. That's the only reason I could keep from being absorbed too. No mind has tried to hold out against it for so many thousands of centuries that certain centers have become soft and atrophied through lack of use. If you hadn't come to me when you did, I'm not sure how much longer I would have lasted. I was on the point of giving in." "Oh, no, sir." Her father. "Yes. Nothing seemed important anymore but rest, and of course it offered me complete rest. I had almost come to the conclusion that I was wrong to fight. That it was right after all, and everything I believed in most passionately was nothing but a madman's dream. But then you and Meg came into me, broke through my prison, and hope and faith returned." Calvin. "Sir, why were you on Camazotz at all? Was there a particular reason for being here?" Her father, with a frigid laugh. "Going to Camazotz was a complete accident. I never intended even to leave our own solar system. I was heading for Mars. Tessering is more complicated than we had expected." Calvin. "Sir, how was it able to get Charles Wallace before it got Meg and me?" Her father. "From what you've told me, it's because Charles Wallace thought he could deliberately go into it and return. He trusted too much to his own strength. Listen. I think the heartbeat is getting stronger." Give me a second to clean my glasses here. There we go. All right. Well, thank you for the additional people that have come in. I appreciate you. His words no longer sounded to her quite as frozen. Was it his words that were ice, or her ears? Why did she hear only her father and Calvin? Why didn't Charles Wallace speak? Silence. A long silence. Then Calvin's voice again. "Can't we do anything? Can't we look for help? Do we just have to go on waiting?" Her father. "We can't leave her. And we must stay together. We must not be afraid to take time." Calvin. "You mean we were? We rushed into things on Camazotz too fast. and Charles Wallace rushed in too fast, and that's why he got caught. Maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know enough yet. Time is different on Camazotz, anyhow. Our time, inadequate though it is, at least is straightforward. It may not have been fully one-dimensional because it can't move back and forward on its line, only ahead, but at least it's consistent in its direction. Time on Camazotz seems to be inverted, turned in on itself, so I have no idea whether I was imprisoned in that column for centuries or only for minutes. Silence for a moment, then her father's voice again. I think I feel a pulse in her wrist now. Meg could not feel his fingers against her wrist. She could not feel her wrist at all. Her body was still stone, but her mind was beginning to be capable of movement. She tried desperately to make some kind of a sound, a signal to them, but nothing happened. Their voices started again. Calvin. About your project, sir. Were you on it alone? Her father. Oh, no. There were half a dozen of us working on it, and I dare say a number of others we don't know about. Certainly we weren't the only nation to investigate along that line. It's not really a new idea. But we did try very hard not to let it be known abroad that we were trying to make it practicable. Did you come to Camazotz alone, or were there others with you? I came alone. You see, Calvin, there was no way to try it out ahead with rats or monkeys or dogs, and we had no idea whether it would really work or whether it would be complete bodily disintegration. Playing with time and space is a dangerous game. But why you, sir? I wasn't the first. We drew straws, and I was second. What happened to the first man? We don't... Look! Did her eyelids move? Silence. Then, no, it was only a shadow. But I did blink, Meg tried to tell them. I'm sure I did. I can hear you. Do something. But there was only another long silence, during which perhaps they were looking at her, watching for another shadow, another flicker. Then she heard her father's voice again, quiet, a little warmer, like his own voice. We drew straws, and I was second. We know Hank went. We saw him go. We saw him vanish right in front of the rest of us. He was there, and then he wasn't. We were to wait for a year for his return or some message. We waited. Nothing. Calvin, his voice cracking. Jeepers, sir. You must have been in sort of a flap. Her father. Yes. It's a frightening as well as an exciting thing to discover that matter and energy are the same thing, that size is an illusion, and that time is a material substance. We can know this, but it's far more than we can understand with our puny little brains. I and Charles Wallace, I think you will be able to comprehend far more than I, and Charles Wallace even more than you. Yes, but what happened, please, sir, after the first man? Meg could hear her father sigh. Then it was my turn. I went, and here I am, a wiser and a humbler man. I'm sure I haven't been gone 2 years. Now that you've come, I have some hope that I may be able to return in time. One thing I have to tell the others is that we know nothing. Calvin. What do you mean, sir? Her father. Just what I say. We're children playing with dynamite. In our mad rush, we've plunged into this before. With a desperate effort, Meg made a sound. It wasn't a very loud sound, but it was a sound. Mr. Murray stopped. Hush, listen. Meg made a strange, croaking noise. She found that she could pull open her eyelids. They felt heavier than marble, but she managed to raise them. Her father and Calvin were hovering over her. She did not see Charles Wallace. Where was he? She was lying in an open field of what looked like rusty, stubby grass. She blinked, slowly, and with difficulty. "Meg?" her father said. "Meg, are you all right?" Her tongue felt like a stone tongue in her mouth, but she managed to croak, "I can't move." "Try," Calvin urged. He sounded now as though he were very angry with her. "Wiggle your toes. Wiggle your fingers." "I can't. Where's Charles Wallace?" Her words were blunted by the stone tongue. Perhaps they could not understand her, for there was no answer. "We were knocked out for a minute, too," Calvin was saying. "You'll be all right, Meg. Don't get panicky." He was crouched over her, and though his voice continued to sound cross, he was peering at her with anxious eyes. She knew that she must still have her glasses on because she could see him clearly, his freckles, his stubby black lashes, the bright blue of his eyes. Her father was kneeling on her other side. The round lenses of Mrs. Who's glasses still blurred his eyes. He took one of her hands and rubbed it between his. "Can you feel my fingers?" He sounded quite calm, as though there was nothing extraordinary in having her completely paralyzed. At the quiet of his voice she felt calmer. Then she saw that there were great drops of sweat standing out on his forehead, and she noticed vaguely that the gentle breeze that touched her cheeks was cool. At first his words had been frozen, and now the wind was mild. It was icy cold. Was it icy cold here or warm? "Can you feel my fingers?" he asked again. Yes, now she could feel a pressure against her wrist, but she could not nod. "Where's Charles Wallace?" Her words were a little less blurred. Her tongue, her lips were beginning to feel cold and numb, as though she had been given a massive dose of Novocaine at the dentist's. She realized with a start that her body and limbs were cold, that not only was she not warm, she was frozen from head to toe, and it was this that had made her father's words seem like ice, that had paralyzed her. "I'm frozen," she said faintly. Camazotz hadn't been this cold, a cold that cut deeper than the wind on the bitterest of winter days at home. She was away from it, but this unexplained iciness was almost as bad. Her father had not saved her. Now she was able to look around a little, and everything she could see was rusty and gray. There were trees edging the field in which she lay, and their leaves were the same brown as the grass. There were plants that might have been flowers, except that they were dull and gray. In contrast to the drabness of color, to the cold that numbed her, the air was filled with a delicate spring-like fragrance, almost imperceptible as it blew softly against her face. She looked at her father and Calvin. They were both in their shirt-sleeves, and they looked perfectly comfortable. It was she, wrapped in their clothes, who was frozen too solid even to shiver. "Why am I so cold?" she asked. "Where's Charles Wallace?" They did not answer. "Father, where are we?" Mr. Murray looked at her soberly. "I don't know, Meg. I don't tesser very well. I must have overshot somehow. We're not on Camazotz. I don't know where we are. I think you're so cold because we went through the black thing, and I thought for a moment it was going to tear you away from me." "Is this a dark planet?" She slowly, her tongue was beginning to thaw. Her words were less blurred. "I don't think so," Mr. Murray said. "But I know so little about anything that I can't be sure." "You shouldn't have tried to tesser, then." She had never spoken to her father in this way before. The words seemed hardly to be hers. Calvin looked at her, shaking his head. It was the only thing to do. At least it got us off Camazotz. Why did we go without Charles Wallace? Did we just... Holy crow. Excuse me. Why did we go without Charles Wallace? Did we just leave him there? The words that were not really hers came out cold and accusing. We didn't just leave him, her father said. Remember that the human brain is a very delicate organism, and it can be easily damaged. See, Meg, Calvin crouched over her, tense and worried. If your father had tried to yank Charles away when he tessered us, and if it had kept grabbing hold of Charles, it might have been too much for him, and we'd have lost him forever. We had to do something right then. Why? It was taking us. You and I were slipping, and if your father had gone on trying to help us, he wouldn't have been able to hold out much longer either. You told him to tesser? Meg charged Calvin. There isn't any question of blame, Mr. Murray cut in severely. Can you move yet? All Meg's faults were uppermost in her now, and they were no longer helping her. No, and you'd better take me back to Camazotz and Charles Wallace quickly. You're supposed to be able to help. Disappointment was as dark and corrosive in her as the black thing. The ugly words tumbled from her cold lips, even as she herself could not believe that it was to her father, her beloved, longed-for father, that she was talking to in this way. If her tears had not still been frozen, they would have gushed from her eyes. She had found her father, and he had not made everything all right. Everything kept getting worse and worse. If the long search for her father was ended, and he wasn't able to overcome their difficulties, there was nothing to guarantee that it would all come out right in the end. There was nothing left to hope for. She was frozen, and Charles Wallace was being devoured by it, and her omnipotent father was doing nothing. She teetered on the seesaw of love and hate, and the black thing pushed her down into hate. You don't even know where we are, she cried out at her father. We'll never see Mother or the twins again. We don't know where Earth is, or even where Camazotz is. We're lost out in space. What are you going to do? She did not realize that she was as much in the power of the black thing as Charles Wallace. Mr. Murray bent over her, massaging her cold fingers. She could not see his face. My daughter, I am not a Mrs. Whatsit, a Mrs. Who, or a Mrs. Which. Yes, Calvin has told me everything he could. I am a human being, and a very fallible one. But I agree with Calvin. We were sent here for something, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. The black thing, Meg cried out at him. Why did you let it almost get me? You've never tessered as well as the rest of us, Calvin reminded her. It never bothered Charles and me as much as it did you. He shouldn't have taken me then, Meg said, until he learned to do it better. Neither her father nor Calvin spoke. Her father continued his gentle massage. Her fingers came back to life with tingling pain. You're hurting me. Then you're feeling again, her father said quietly. I'm afraid it is going to hurt, Meg. The piercing pain moved slowly up her arms, began in her toes and legs. She started to cry out against her father when Calvin exclaimed, Look! Coming towards them, moving in silence across the brown grass, were 3 figures. What were they? On Uriel there had been the magnificent creatures. On Camazotz the inhabitants had at least resembled people. What were these strange things approaching? They were the same dull gray color as the flowers. If they hadn't walked upright, they would have seemed like animals. They moved directly toward the three human beings. They had 4 arms, and far more than 5 fingers on each hand. And the fingers were not fingers, but long, waving tentacles. They had heads, and they had faces, but where the faces of the creatures on Uriel had seemed far more than human faces, these seemed far less. Where the features would normally be, there were several indentations, and in place of ears and hair were more tentacles. They were tall, Meg realized as they came closer, far taller than any man. They had no eyes, just soft indentations. Meg's rigid, frozen body tried to shudder with terror, but instead of the shudder, all that came was pain. She moaned. The things stood over them. They appeared to be looking down at them, except that they had no eyes with which to see. Mr. Murray continued to kneel by Meg, massaging her. "He's killed us bringing us here," Meg thought. "I'll never see Charles Wallace again, or Mother, or the twins." Calvin rose to his feet. He bowed to the beasts as though they could see him. He said, "How do you do, sir? Ma'am?" "Who are you?" the tallest of the beasts said. His voice was neither hostile nor welcoming, and it came not from the mouth-like indentation in the furry face, but from the waving tentacles. "They'll eat us," Meg thought wildly. "They're making me hurt. My toes, my fingers, I hurt." Calvin answered the beast's question. We're from Earth. I'm not sure how we got here. We've had an accident. Meg, this girl, is paralyzed. She can't move. She's terribly cold. We think that's why she can't move." One of them came up to Meg and squatted down on its huge haunches beside her, and she felt utter loathing and revulsion as it reached out a tentacle to touch her face. But with the tentacle came the same delicate fragrance that moved across her with the breeze, and she felt a soft, tingling warmth go all through her that momentarily assuaged her pain. She felt suddenly sleepy. "I must look as strange to it as it looks to me," she thought drowsily, and then realized with a shock that of course the beast couldn't see her at all. Nevertheless, a reassuring sense of safety flowed through her with the warmth which continued to seep deep into her as the beast touched her. Then it picked her up, cradling her in 2 of its 4 arms. Mr. Murray stood up quickly. "What are you doing?" "Taking the child." Boop. Chapter 11. Oh, boy. Well, I guess we'll just keep on going. Oh, boy. I did. I hydrated. This does say Auntie Anne's pretzels, but it's just water. All right. Aunt Beast. "No," Mr. Murray said sharply. "Please put her down." A sense of amusement seemed to emanate from the beasts. The tallest, who seemed to be the spokesman, said, "We frighten you?" "What are you going to do with us?" Mr. Murray asked. The beast said, "I'm sorry. We communicate better with the other one. He turned to Calvin. Who are you? I'm Calvin O'Keefe. What's that? I'm a boy, a young man. You two are afraid. I'm not sure. Tell me, the beast said, what do you suppose you'd do if 3 of us suddenly arrived on your home planet? Shoot you, I guess, Calvin admitted. Then isn't that what we should do with you? Calvin's freckles seemed to deepen, but he answered quietly. I'd really rather you didn't. I mean, the Earth's my home, and I'd rather be there than anywhere in the world. I mean, the universe. And I can't wait to get back, but we make some awful bloopers here. The smallest beast, the one holding Meg, said, and perhaps they aren't used to visitors from other planets. Used to it? Calvin exclaimed. We've never had any, as far as I know. Why? I don't know. The middle beast, a tremor of trepidation in his words, said, You aren't from a dark planet, are you? No, Calvin shook his head firmly, though the beast couldn't see him. We're shadowed, but we're fighting the shadow. The beast, holding Meg, questioned. You 3 are fighting? Yes, Calvin answered. Now that we know about it. The tall one turned back to Mr. Murray, speaking sternly. You, the oldest man, from where have you come now? Mr. Murray answered steadily. From a planet called Camazots. There was an mutter from the 3 beasts. We do not belong here. There, Mr. Murray said, slowly and distinctly. We were strangers there as we are here. I was a prisoner there, and these children rescued me. My youngest son, my baby, is still there, trapped in the dark mind of it. Meg tried to twist around in the beast's arms to glare at her father and Calvin. Why were they being so frank? Weren't they aware of the danger? But again her anger dissolved as the gentle warmth from the tentacles flowed through her. She realized that she could move her fingers and toes with comparative freedom, and the pain was no longer so acute. We must take this child back with us, the beast, holding her, said. Meg shouted at her father. Don't leave me the way you left Charles! With this burst of terror, a spasm of pain racked her body, and she gasped. Stop fighting, the beast told her. You make it worse. Relax. That's what it said, Meg cried. Father, Calvin, help! The beast turned toward Calvin and Mr. Murray. This child is in danger. You must trust us. We have no alternative, Mr. Murray said. Can you save her? I think so. May I stay with her? No, but you will not be far away. We feel that you are hungry, tired, that you would like to bathe and rest. And this little... What is the word? The beast cocked its tentacles at Calvin. Girl, Calvin said. This little girl needs prompt and special care. The coldness of the... What is it you call it? The black thing. The black thing, yes. The black thing burns unless it is counteracted properly. The 3 beasts stood around Meg, and it seemed that they were feeling into her with their softly waving tentacles. The movement of the tentacles was as rhythmic and flowing as the dance of an undersea plant, and lying there, cradled in the 4 strange arms, Meg, despite herself, felt a sense of security that was deeper than anything she had known since the days when she lay in her mother's arms in the old rocking chair and was snugged to sleep. With her father's help, she had been able to resist it. Now she could hold out no longer. She leaned her head against the beast's chest and realized that the gray body was covered with the softest, most delicate fur imaginable, and the fur had the same beautiful odor as the air. I hope I don't smell awful to it, she thought. But then she knew with a deep sense of comfort that even if she did smell awful, the beast would forgive her. As the tall figure cradled her, she could feel the frigid stiffness of her body relaxing against it. This bliss could not come to her from a thing like it. It could only give pain, never relieve it. The beasts must be good. They had to be good. She sighed deeply like a very small child, and suddenly she was asleep. When she came to herself again, there was in the back of her mind a memory of pain, of agonizing pain. But the pain was over now, and her body was lapped in comfort. She was lying on something wonderfully soft in an enclosed chamber. It was dark. All she could see were occasional tall moving shadows which she realized were beasts walking about. She had been stripped of her clothes, and something warm and pungent was gently being rubbed into her body. She sighed and stretched and discovered that she could stretch. She could move again. She was no longer paralyzed, and her body was bathed in waves of warmth. Her father had not saved her. The beasts had. "So you are awake, little one?" The words came gently to her ears. "What a funny little tadpole you are. Is the pain gone now?" "All gone." "Are you warm and alive again?" "Yes, I'm fine." She struggled to sit up. "No, lie still, small one. You must not exert yourself as yet. We will have a fur garment for you in a moment, and then we will feed you. You must not even try to feed yourself. You must be as an infant again. The black thing does not relinquish its victims willingly." "Where are Father and Calvin? Have they gone back for Charles Wallace?" "They are eating and resting," the beast said, "and we are trying to learn about each other and see what is best to help you. We feel now that you are not dangerous, and that we will be allowed to help you." "Why is it so dark in here?" Meg asked. She tried to look around, but all she could see was shadows. Nevertheless, there was a sense of openness, a feel of a gentle breeze moving lightly about that kept the darkness from being oppressive. Perplexity came to her from the beast. "What is this dark? What is this light? We do not understand. Your father and the boy Calvin have asked this too. They say that it is night now on our planet, and that they cannot see. They have told us that our atmosphere is what they call opaque, so that the stars are not visible. And then they were surprised that we know stars, that we know their music and their movements of their dance far better than beings like you who spend hours studying them through what you call telescopes. We do not understand what this means to see." "Well, it's what things look like," Meg said helplessly. "We do not know what things look like, as you say," the beast said. "We know what things are like. It must be very limiting thing, this seeing." "Oh, no," Meg cried. "It's the most wonderful thing in the world." "What a very strange world yours must be," the beast said, "that such a peculiar-seeming thing should be of such importance. Try to tell me what is this thing called light that you are able to do so little without." Oh, excuse me. Well, we can't see without it, Meg said, realizing that she was completely unable to explain vision and light and dark. How can you explain sight on a world where no one has ever seen, and where there is no need of eyes? Well, on this planet, she fumbled, you have a sun, don't you? A most wonderful sun from which comes our warmth, and the rays which give us our flowers, our food, our music, and all things which make life and growth. Well, Meg said, when we are turned toward the sun on our Earth, our planet, toward our sun, we receive its light, and when we're turned away from it, it is night. And if we want to see, we have to use artificial lights. Artificial lights, the beast sighed. How very complicated life on your planet must be. Later on, you must try to explain some more to me. All right, Meg promised, and yet she knew that to try to explain anything that could be seen with the eyes would be impossible, because the beasts in some way understood, far more completely than she, or her parents, or Calvin, or even Charles Wallace. Charles Wallace, she cried. What are they doing about Charles Wallace? We don't know what it's doing to him or making him do. Please, oh, please help us. Yes, little one, of course we will help you. A meeting is in session right now to study what is best to do. We have never before been able to talk to anyone who has managed to escape from a dark planet. So although your father is blaming himself for everything that has happened, we feel that he must be quite an extraordinary person to get out of Camazotz with you at all. But the little boy, and I understand that he is a very special, a very important little boy. Ah, my child, you must accept that this will not be easy. To go back through the black thing, back to Camazotz, I don't know. But father left him, Meg said. He's got to bring him back. He can't just abandon Charles Wallace. The beast's communication suddenly became crisp. Nobody said anything about abandoning anybody. That is not our way. But we know that just because we want something does not mean that we will get what we want, and we still do not know what to do. And we cannot allow you, in your present state, to do anything that would jeopardize us all. I can see that you wish your father to go rushing back to Camazotz, and you could probably make him do this. And then, where would we be? No. You must wait until you are more calm. Now, my darling, here is a robe for you to keep warm and comfortable. Meg felt herself being lifted again, and a soft, light garment was slipped about her. Don't worry about your little brother. The tentacle's musical words were soft against her. We would never leave him behind the shadow. But for now, you must relax. You must be happy. You must get well. The gentle words, the feeling that this beast would be able to love her no matter what she said or did, lapped Meg in warmth and peace. She felt a delicate touch of tentacle to her cheek, as tender as her mother's kiss. It is so long since my own small ones were grown and gone, the beast said. You are so tiny and vulnerable. Now I will feed you. You must eat slowly and quietly. I know that you are half-starved, that you have been without food far too long, but you must not rush things, or you will not get well. Something completely and indescribably and incredibly delicious was put to Meg's lips, and she swallowed gratefully. With each swallow she felt strength returning to her body, and she realized that she had had nothing to eat since the horrible fake turkey dinner on Camazotz, which she had barely tasted. How long ago was her mother's stew? Time no longer had any meaning. "How long does night last here?" she murmured sleepily. "It will be day again, won't it?" "Hush," the beast said. "Eat, small one. During the coolness which is now, we sleep, and when we waken there will be warmth again and many things to do. You must eat now and sleep, and I will stay with you." "What should I call you, please?" Meg asked. "Well, now, first try not to say any words for just a moment. Think within your mind. Think of all the things you call people. Different kinds of people." While Meg thought, the beast murmured to her gently, "No, mother is a special one name. And a father you have here. Not just friend, nor teacher, nor brother, nor sister. What is acquaintance? What a funny, hard word. Aunt, maybe. Yes, perhaps that will do. And you think of such odd words about me. Thing and monster. Monster, what a horrid sort of word. I really do not think I am a monster. Beast. That will do. Aunt Beast." "Aunt Beast," Meg murmured sleepily and laughed. "Have I said something funny?" Aunt Beast asked in surprise. "Isn't Aunt Beast all right?" "Aunt Beast is lovely," Meg said. "Please sing to me, Aunt Beast." If it was impossible to describe sight to Aunt Beast, it would be even more impossible to describe the singing of Aunt Beast to a human being. It was a music even more glorious than the music of the singing creatures on Uriel. It was a music more tangible than form or sight. It had essence and structure. It supported Meg more firmly than the arms of Aunt Beast. It seemed to travel with her, to sweep her aloft in the power of song, so that she was moving in glory among the stars, and for a moment she, too, felt that the words darkness and light had no meaning, and only this melody was real. Meg did not know when she fell asleep within the body of the music. When she wakened, Aunt Beast was asleep too, the softness of her furry, faceless head drooping. Night had gone, and a dull gray light filled the room. But she realized now that here on this planet there was no need for color, that the grays and browns merging into each other were not what the beast knew, and that what she herself saw was only the smallest fraction of what the planet was really like. It was she who was limited by her senses, not the blind beasts, for they must have senses of which she could not even dream. She stirred slightly, and Aunt Beast bent over her immediately. "What a lovely sleep, my darling. Do you feel all right?" "I feel wonderful," Meg said. "Aunt Beast, what is this planet called?" "Oh, dear," Aunt Beast sighed. "I find it not easy at all to put things the way your mind shapes them. You call where you came from Camazotz. Well, it's where we came from, but it's not our planet." "You can call us Ixchel, I guess," Aunt Beast told her. "We share the same sun as lost Camazotz, but that, give thanks, is all we share." "Are you fighting the black thing?" Meg asked. "Oh, yes," Aunt Beast replied. In doing that we can never relax. We are the called according to his purpose, and whom he calls them he also justifies. Of course, we have help, and without help it would be much more difficult. Who helps you? Meg asked. Oh, dear, it is so difficult to explain things to you, small one, and I know now that it is not just because you are a child. The other two are as hard to reach into as you are. What I can tell you that will mean anything to you. Good helps us. The stars help us. Perhaps what you would call light helps us. Love helps us. Oh, my child, I cannot explain. This is something you just have to know or not know. But we look not at the things which are what you would call seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Aunt Beast, do you know Mrs. Whatsit? Meg asked with a sudden flooding of hope. Mrs. Whatsit? Aunt Beast was puzzled. Oh, child, your language is so utterly simple and limited that it has the effect of extreme complication. Her 4 arms, tentacles waving, were outflung in a gesture of helplessness. Would you like me to take you to your father and your Calvin? Oh, yes, please. Let us go, then. They are waiting for you to make plans. And we thought you would enjoy eating. What is it you call it? Oh, yes, breakfast together. You will be too warm in that heavy fur now. I will dress you in something lighter, and then we will go. As though Meg were a baby, Aunt Beast bathed and dressed her, and this new garment, as though Meg were a baby, Aunt Beast bathed and dressed her, and this new garment, though it was made of a pale fur, was lighter than the lightest summer clothes on earth. Aunt Beast put one tentacled arm about Meg's waist and led her through long, dim corridors in which she could only see shadows and shadows of shadows until they reached a large, columned chamber. Shafts of light came in from an open skylight and converged about a huge, round stone table. Here were seated several of the great beasts, and Calvin and Mr. Murray on a stone bench that circled the table. Because the beasts were so tall, even Mr. Murray's feet did not touch the ground, and the lanky Calvin's long legs dangled as though he were Charles Wallace. The hall was partially enclosed by vaulted arches leading to long paved walks. There were no empty walls, no covering roofs, so that although the light was dull in comparison to Earth's sunlight, Meg had no feeling of dark or of chill. As Aunt Beast led Meg in, Mr. Murray slid down from the bench and hurried to her, putting his arms about her tenderly. "They promised us you were all right," he said. While she had been in Aunt Beast's arms, Meg had felt safe and secure. Now her worries about Charles Wallace and her disappointment in her father's human fallibility rose like a gorge in her throat. "I'm fine," she muttered, looking not at Calvin or her father, but at the beasts, for it was to them she turned now for help. It seemed to her that neither her father nor Calvin were properly concerned about Charles Wallace. "Meg," Calvin said gaily, "you've never tasted such food in your life. Come and eat." Aunt Beast lifted Meg up onto the bench and sat down beside her, then heaped a plate full with food, many strange fruits and breads that tasted unlike anything Meg had ever eaten. Everything was dull and colorless and unappetizing to look at, and at first, even remembering the meal Aunt Beast had fed her the night before, Meg hesitated to taste. But once she managed the first bite, she ate eagerly. It seemed that she would never have her fill again. The others waited until she slowed down. Then Mr. Murray said gravely, "We were trying to work out a plan to rescue Charles Wallace. Since I made such a mistake in tessering away from it, we feel that it would not be wise for me to try to get back to Camazotz even alone. If I miss the mark again, I could easily get lost and wander forever from galaxy to galaxy, and that would be a small help to anyone, least of all to Charles Wallace." Such a wave of despondency came over Meg that she was no longer able to eat. "Our friends here," he continued, "feel that it was only the fact that I still wore the glasses of your Mrs. Who gave you that kept me within this solar system. Here are the glasses, Meg. But I'm afraid that the virtue has gone from them, and now they are only glass. Perhaps they were meant to help only once, and only on Camazotz. Perhaps it was going through the black thing that did it." He pushed the glasses across the table at her. "These people know about tessering," Calvin gestured at the circle of great beasts, "but they can't do it onto a dark planet." "Have you tried to call Mrs. Whatsit?" Meg asked. "Not yet," her father answered. "But if you haven't thought of anything else, it's the only thing to do. Father, don't you care about Charles at all?" At that, Aunt Beast stood up, saying, "Child," in a reproving way. Mr. Murray said nothing, and Meg could see that she had wounded him deeply. She reacted as she would have reacted to Mr. Jenkins. She scowled down at the table, saying, "We've got to ask them for help now. You're just stupid if you think we don't." Aunt Beast spoke to the others. "The child is distraught. Don't judge her harshly. She was almost taken by the black thing. Sometimes we can't know what spiritual damage it leaves even when physical recovery is complete." Meg looked angrily around the table. The beast sat there, silent, motionless. She felt that she was being measured and found wanting. Calvin swung away from her and hunched himself up. "Hasn't it occurred to you that we've been trying to tell them about our ladies? What do you think we've been up to all this time, just stuffing our faces? Okay, you have a shot at it." "Yes, try, child." Aunt Beast seated herself again and pulled Meg up beside her. "But I do not understand this feeling of anger I sense in you. What is it about? There is blame going on, and guilt. Why?" "Aunt Beast, don't you know?" "No," Aunt Beast said, "but this is not telling me about whoever they are you want us to know. Try." Meg tried, blunderingly, fumblingly. At first she described Mrs. Whatsit and her man's coat and multicolored shawls and scarves, Mrs. Who and her white robes and shimmering spectacles, and Mrs. Witch in her peaked cap and black gown quivering in and out of body. Then she realized that this was absurd. She was describing them only to herself. This wasn't Mrs. Whatsit or Mrs. Who or Mrs. Witch. She might as well have described Mrs. Whatsit as she was when she took on the form of a flying creature of Uriel. "Don't try to use words," Aunt Beast said soothingly. "You're just fighting yourself and me. Think about what they are. This look doesn't help us at all." Meg tried again, but she could not get a visual concept out of her mind. She tried to think of Mrs. Whatsit explaining tessering. She tried to think of them in terms of mathematics. Every once in a while she thought she felt a flicker of understanding from Aunt Beast or one of the others, but most of the time all that emanated from them was gentle puzzlement. "Angels!" Calvin shouted suddenly from across the table. "Guardian angels!" There was a moment's silence, and he shouted again, his face tense with concentration. "Messengers! Messengers of God!" "I thought for a moment," Aunt Beast started, then subsided, sighing. "No, it's not clear enough." "How strange it is that they can't tell us what they themselves seem to know," a tall, thin beast murmured. One of Aunt Beast's tentacled arms went around Meg's waist again. "They are very young, and on their Earth, as they call it, they never communicate with other planets. They revolve about all alone in space." "Oh," the thin beast said. "Aren't they lonely?" Suddenly, a thundering voice reverberated throughout the great hall. "We are here!" 12. All right. So we are... Yes. Next chapter is called The Foolish and the Weak. Oh, good to see you, Songbird. I appreciate you being here. It has been a very slim night as far as viewers are concerned. But I am glad that the people that are here. And, you know. All right, see you Wednesday. Alrighty then. So we are down to 1. Well, let's just keep on going. It suppresses something. I'll tell you. I don't know if it's greatness, but it suppresses something. So, all right. Well, let's just keep. We've got an hour left. Let's just keep going. And if you're the only one I talk to tonight, well, that's okay. I'm all right. The Foolish and the Weak. Meg could see nothing, but she felt her heart pounding with hope. With one accord, all the beasts rose to their feet, turned toward one of the arched openings, and bowed their heads and tentacles in greeting. Yes, you're in a vocal limo. Yep, you're in a room all by yourself, just listening to me, a book on tape. Mrs. Whatsit appeared, standing between 2 columns. Beside her came Mrs. Who, behind them a quivering of light. The 3 of them were somehow not quite the same as they had been when Meg had first seen them. Their outlines seemed blurred. Colors ran as in a wet watercolor painting. Holy cow. Whew. Yeah, me too. But there they were. They were recognizable. They were themselves. Meg pulled herself away from Aunt Beast, jumped to the floor, and rushed at Mrs. Whatsit. But Mrs. Whatsit held up a warning hand, and Meg realized that she was not completely materialized, that she was light and not substance, and embracing her now would have been like trying to hug a sunbeam. "We had to hurry, so there wasn't quite time. You wanted us?" Mrs. Whatsit asked. The tallest of the beasts bowed again and took a step away from the table towards Mrs. Whatsit. "It is a question of the little boy." "Father left him," Meg cried. "He left him on Camazots." Appallingly, Mrs. Whatsit's voice was cold. "And what do you expect us to do?" Meg pressed her knuckles against her teeth so that her braces cut her skin. Then she flung out her arms pleadingly. "But it's Charles Wallace! It has him! Mrs. Whatsit, save him! Please, save him!" "You know that we can do nothing on Camazots," Mrs. Whatsit said, her voice still cold. "You mean you'll let Charles be caught by it forever?" Meg's voice rose shrilly. "Did I say that? But we can't do anything. You know we can't. We tried, Mrs. Whatsit. You have to save him. Meg, this is not our way, Mrs. Whatsit said sadly. I thought you would know that this is not our way. Mr. Murray took a step forward and bowed, and to Meg's amazement the three ladies bowed back at him. I don't believe we've been introduced, Mrs. Whatsit said. It's father. You know it's father. Meg's angry impatience grew. Father, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Which. I'm very glad to, Mr. Murray mumbled, then went on. I'm sorry, my glasses are broken, and I can't see you very well. It is not necessary to see us, Mrs. Whatsit said. If you could teach me enough more about the Tesseract so that I could get back to Camazotz. What then? Came Mrs. Witch's surprising voice. I will try to take my child away from it. And you know that you will not succeed. There's nothing left except to try, Mrs. Whatsit spoke gently. I'm sorry. We cannot allow you to go. Then let me, Calvin suggested. I almost got him away from there. Mrs. Whatsit shook her head. No, Calvin. Charles has gone even deeper into it. You will not be permitted to throw yourself in with him, for that, you must realize, is what would happen. There was a long silence. All the soft rays filtering into the great hall seemed to concentrate on Mrs. Whatsit. Mrs. Who and the faint light must be Mrs. Witch. No one spoke. One of the beasts moves a tendril slowly back and forth across the stone tabletop. At last Meg could stand it no longer, and she cried out despairingly, Then what are you going to do? Are you just going to throw Charles Wallace away? Mrs. Witch's voice rolled formidably across the hall. Silence, child! But Meg could not be silent. She pressed closely against Aunt Beast, but Aunt Beast did not put the protecting tentacles around her. I can't go, Meg cried. I can't. You know I can't. Did anybody ask you to? The grim voice made Meg's skin prickle into gooseflesh. She burst into tears. She started beating at Aunt Beast like a small child having a tantrum. Her tears rained down her face and spattered Aunt Beast's fur. Aunt Beast stood quietly against the assault. All right, I'll go. I know you want me to go. We want nothing from you that you do without grace, Mrs. Whatsit said, or that you do without understanding. Meg's tears stopped abruptly as they had started. But I do understand. She felt tired and unexpectedly peaceful. Now the coldness that under Aunt Beast's ministrations had left her body and had also left her mind. She looked toward her father, and her confused anger was gone, and she felt only love and pride. She smiled at him, asking forgiveness, and then pressed up against Aunt Beast. This time, Aunt Beast's arm went around her. Mrs. Witch's voice was grave. What do you understand? That it has to be me. It can't be anyone else. I don't understand Charles, but he understands me. I'm the one who's closest to him. Father's been away for so long, since Charles was a baby. They don't know each other. And Calvin's only known Charles for such a little time. If it had been longer, then he would have been the one, but... Oh, I see, I understand. It has to be me. There isn't anyone else. Mr. Murray, who'd been sitting, his elbows on his knees, with his chin on his fists, rose. I will not allow it. Why? Mrs. Witch demanded. Look, I don't know what or who you are, and at this point I don't care. I will not allow my daughter to go alone into this danger. Why? You know what the outcome will probably be, and she's weak now, weaker than she was before. She was almost killed by the black thing. I fail to understand how you can even consider such a thing. Calvin jumped down. Maybe it's right about you, or maybe you're in league with it. I'm the one to go if anybody goes. Why did you bring me along at all? To take care of Meg? You said so yourself. But you haven't done that, Mrs. Watson assured him. But you have done that, Mrs. Watson assured him. I haven't done anything, Calvin shouted. You can't send Meg. I won't allow it. I'll put my foot down. I won't permit it. Don't you see that you are making something that is already hard for Meg even harder? Mrs. Watson asked him. Aunt Beast turned tentacles toward Mrs. Watson. Is she strong enough to Tesser again? You know what she has been through. If which takes her, she can manage, Mrs. Watson said. If it will help, I could go too and hold her. Mrs. Beast's arm around Meg tightened. Oh, Aunt Beast, Meg started. But Mrs. Watson cut her off. No. I was afraid not, Mrs. Beast said humbly. I just wanted you to know that I would. What's it? Mr. Murray frowned and pushed his hair back from his face. Then he shoved with his middle finger at his nose as though he were trying to get spectacles closer to his eyes. Are you remembering that she is only a child? And she's backward, Calvin bellowed. I resent that, Meg said hotly, hoping that indignation would control her trembling. I'm better than you at math, and you know it. Do you have the courage to go alone? Mrs. Watson asked her. Meg's voice was flat. No, but it doesn't matter. She turned to her father and Calvin. You know it's the only thing to do. You know they'd never send me alone if... How do we know they're not in league with it? Mr. Murray demanded. Father! No, Meg, Mrs. Watson said. I do not blame your father for being angry and suspicious and frightened, and I cannot pretend that we are doing anything but sending you into the gravest kind of danger. I have to acknowledge quite openly that it may be a fatal danger. I know this, but I do not believe it, and the happy medium doesn't believe it either. Can't she see what's going to happen? Calvin asked. Oh, not in this kind of thing, Mrs. Watson sounded surprised at his question. If we knew ahead of time what was going to happen, we'd be like the people on Camazotz, with no lives of our own, with everything all planned and done for us. How can I explain it to you? Oh, I know. In your language you have a form of poetry called the sonnet. Yes, Calvin said impatiently. What's that got to do with the happy medium? Kindly pay me the courtesy of listening to me. Mrs. Watson's voice was stern, and for a moment Calvin stopped pawing the ground like a nervous colt. It is a very strict form of poetry, is it not? Yes. There are 14 lines, I believe, all in iambic pentameter. That's a very strict rhythm or meter, yes? Yes, Calvin nodded, and each line has to end with a rigid rhyme pattern, and if the poet does not do it exactly this way, it is not a sonnet, is it? No, but within this strict form, the poet has complete freedom to say whatever he wants, doesn't he? Yes, Calvin nodded again. So, Mrs. Watson said. So what? "Oh, do not be stupid, boy," Mrs. Whatsit scolded. "You know perfectly well what I'm driving at." "You mean you're comparing our lives to a sonnet, a strict form but freedom within it." "Yes," Mrs. Whatsit said. "You're given the form, but you have to write the sonnet yourself. What you say is completely up to you." "Please," Meg said, "please, if I've got to go, I want to go and get it over with. Each minute you put it off makes it harder." "She is right," boomed Mrs. Witch's voice. "It is time." "You may say goodbye," Mrs. Whatsit, giving her not permission but a command. Meg curtsied clumsily to the beasts. "Thank you all very much. I know you saved my life." She did not add what she could not help thinking. Saved it for what? So that it could get me? She put her arms about Aunt Beast and pressed up against the soft, fragrant fur. "Thank you," she whispered. "I love you." "And I you, little one." Aunt Beast pressed gentle tendrils against Meg's face. "Cal," Meg said, holding out her hand. Calvin came to her and took her hand, then drew her roughly to him and kissed her. He didn't say anything, and he turned away before he had a chance to see the surprised happiness that brightened Meg's face. At last she turned to her father. I'm sorry, Father." He took both her hands in his, bent down to her with his short-sighted eyes. "Sorry for what, Megatron?" Tears almost came to her eyes at the gentle use of the old nickname. "I wanted you to do it all for me. I wanted everything to be all easy and simple, so I tried to pretend that it was all your fault, because I was scared, and I didn't want to have to do anything for myself." "But I wanted to do it for you," Mr. Murray said. "That's what every parent wants." He looked into her dark, frightened eyes. "I won't let you go, Meg. I am going." "No." Mrs. Whatsit's voice was sterner than Meg had ever heard it. "You are going to allow Meg the privilege of accepting this danger. You are a wise man, Mr. Murray. You are going to let her go." Mr. Murray sighed. He drew Meg close to him. "Little Megaparsec, don't be afraid to be afraid. We will try to have courage for you. That is all we can do." "Your mother was always shoving me out into the world," Meg said. "She'd want me to do this. You know she would." "Tell her," she started, choked, then held up her head and said, "No, never mind. I'll tell her myself." "Good girl. Of course you will." Now Meg walked slowly round the table to where Mrs. Whatsit was still poised between the columns. "Are you going with me?" "No, only Mrs. Witch." "The black thing," fear made her voice tremble. "When Father tessered me through it, it almost got me." "Your father is singularly inexperienced," Mrs. Whatsit said, "though a fine man and worth teaching. At the moment, he still treats tessering as though he were working with a machine. We will not let the black thing get you, I don't think." This was not exactly comforting. The momentary vision and faith that had come to Meg dwindled. "But I suppose I can't get Charles Wallace away from it." "Stop." Mrs. Whatsit held up her hand. "We gave you gifts the last time we took you to Camazotz. We will not let you go empty-handed this time. But what we can give you now is nothing you can touch with your hands. I give you my love, Meg. Never forget that. My love always." Mrs. Hu, whose shining behind eyes shining behind spectacles, beamed at Meg. Her Meg felt her blazer pocket and handed back the spectacles she'd used on Camazotz. Your father is right. Mrs. Hu took the spectacles and hid them somewhere in the folds of her robes. The virtue is gone from them. And what I have to give you is time you must try to understand, not word by word, but in a flash, as you understand the Tesseract. Listen, Meg. Listen well. The foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called, but God hath chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise. And God hath chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, and base things of the world, and things which are despised hath God chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring naught to things that are. She paused, and then she said, May the right prevail. Her spectacles seemed to flicker. Behind her, through her, one of the columns seemed visible. There was a final gleam from the glasses, and she was gone. Meg looked nervously to where Mrs. Whatsit had been standing before Mrs. Hu spoke. But Mrs. Whatsit was no longer there. No! Mr. Murray cried and stepped toward Meg. Mrs. Witch's voice came through her shimmer. I cannot hold your hand, child. Immediately, Meg was swept into darkness, into nothingness, and then into the icy, devouring cold of the black thing. Mrs. Witch won't let it get me, she thought over and over, while the cold of the black thing seemed to crunch her bones. Then they were through it, and she was standing breathlessly on her feet on the same hill on which they had first landed on Camazotz. She was cold and a little numb, but no worse than she had been in the winter in the country when she had spent an afternoon skating on the pond. She looked around. She was completely alone. Her heart began to pound. Then, seeming to echo from all around her, came Mrs. Witch's unforgettable voice. I have not given you my gift. You have something that it has not. This something is your only weapon, but you must find it for yourself. Then the voice ceased, and Meg knew that she was alone. She walked slowly down the hill, her heart thumping painfully against her ribs. There, below her, was the same row of identical houses they had seen before, and beyond these the linear buildings of the city. She walked along the quiet street. It was dark, and the street was deserted. No children playing ball or skipping rope, no mother figures at the doors, no father figures returning from work. In the same window of each house was a light, and as Meg walked down the street, all the lights were extinguished simultaneously. Was it because of her presence, or was it simply that it was time for lights out? She felt numb. Beyond rage or disappointment or even fear, she put one foot ahead of the other with precise regularity, not allowing her pace to lag. She was not thinking. She was not planning. She was simply walking slowly but steadily toward the city and the domed building where it lay. Now she approached the outlying buildings of the city. In each of them was a vertical line of light, but it was a dim, eerie light, not the warm light of stairways in cities at home. And there were no isolated, brightly lit windows where someone was working late, or an office was being cleaned. Out of each building came one man, perhaps a watchman, and each man started walking the width of the building. They appeared not to see her. At any rate, they paid no attention to her whatsoever, and she went on past them. What have I got that it hasn't got? She thought suddenly. What have I possibly got? Now she was walking by the tallest of the business buildings, more dim vertical lines of light. The walls glowed slightly to give a faint illumination to the streets. Central Intelligence was ahead of her. Was the man with red eyes still sitting there? Or was he allowed to go to bed? But this was not where she must go. Through the man with red eyes seemed the kind old gentleman he claimed to be when compared with it, but he was no longer of any consequence in the search for Charles Wallace. She must go directly to it. It isn't used to being resisted. Father said that's how he managed, and how Calvin and I had managed as long as we did. Father saved me then. I have to resist it by myself. Is that what I have that it hasn't got? No, I'm sure it can resist. It just isn't used to having other people resist. Central Intelligence blocked with its huge rectangle at the end of the square. She turned to walk around it, and almost imperceptibly her steps slowed. It was not far to the great dome which housed it. I'm going to Charles Wallace. That's what's important. That's what I have to think of. I wish I could feel numb again the way I did at first. Suppose it has him somewhere else. Suppose he isn't there. I have to go there first anyhow. That's the way I can find out. Her steps got slower and slower as she passed the great bronze doors, the huge slabs of the Central Intelligence building, as she finally saw ahead of her the strange light pulsing dome of it. Father said it was all right for me to be afraid. He said to go ahead and be afraid. And Mrs. Hu said, I don't understand what she said, but I think it was meant to make me not hate being only me, and me being the way I am. And Mrs. Whatsit said to remember that she loves me. That's what I have to think about. Not about being afraid, or not as smart as it. Mrs. Whatsit loves me. That's quite something to be loved by someone like Mrs. Whatsit. She was there. No matter how slowly her feet had taken her at the end, they had taken her there. Directly ahead of her was the circular building, its walls glowing like violet flame, its silvery roof pulsing with a light that seemed to Meg to be insane. Again, she could feel the light, neither warm nor cold, but reaching out to touch her, pulling her toward it. There was a sudden sucking, and she was within. It was as though the wind had been knocked out of her. She gasped for breath in her own rhythm, not the permeating pulse of it. She could feel the inexorable beat within her body, controlling her heart, her lungs. But not herself. Not Meg. It did not quite have her. She blinked her eyes rapidly against the rhythm until the redness before them cleared and she could see. There was the brain. There was it, lying, pulsing and quivering on the dais, soft and exposed and nauseating. Charles Wallace was crouched beside it, his eyes still slowly twirling, his jaw still slack as she had seen him before, with a tick in his forehead reiterating the revolting rhythm of it. As she saw him, it was again as though she had been punched in the stomach, for she had to realize afresh that she was seeing Charles, and yet it was not Charles at all. Where was Charles Wallace? Her own beloved Charles Wallace? What is it I have got that it hasn't got? You have nothing that it hasn't got, Charles Wallace said coldly. How nice to have you back, dear sister. We have been waiting for you. We knew that Mrs. Whatsit would send you. She is our friend, you know. For an appalling moment Meg believed, and in that moment she felt her brain being gathered up into it. No, she screamed at the top of her lungs. No, you lie! For a moment she was free from its clutches again. As long as I can stay angry enough, it can't get me. Is that what I have that it doesn't have? Nonsense, Charles Wallace said. You have nothing that it doesn't have. You're lying, she replied, and she felt only anger towards this boy who was not Charles Wallace at all. No, it was not anger. It was loathing. It was hatred, sheer and unadulterated. And as she became lost in hatred, she also began to be lost in it. The red miasma swam before her eyes. Her stomach churned in its rhythm. Her body trembled with the strength of her hatred and the strength of it. With the last vestige of consciousness, she jerked her mind and body. Hate was nothing that it didn't have. It knew all about hate. You're lying about that, and you're lying about Mrs. Whatsit, she screamed. Mrs. Whatsit hates you, Charles Wallace said. And that was where it made its fatal mistake. For as Meg said automatically, Mrs. Whatsit loves me. That's what she told me, that she loves me. Suddenly she knew. She knew love, that was what she had that it did not have. She had Mrs. Whatsit's love, and her father's, and her mother's, and the real Charles Wallace's love, and the twins and Aunt Beath's. And she had her love for them. But how could she use it? What was she meant to do? If she could give love to it, perhaps it would shrivel up and die, for she was sure that it could not withstand love. But she, in all her weakness and foolishness, baseness and nothingness, was incapable of loving it. Perhaps it was not too much to ask of her, but she could not do it. But she could love Charles Wallace. She could stand there, and she could love Charles Wallace. Her own Charles Wallace, the real Charles Wallace, the child for whom she had come back to Camazotz, to it, the baby who was so much more than she was, and who was yet so utterly vulnerable. She could love Charles Wallace. Charles, I love you. My baby brother who always takes care of me. Come back to me. Charles Wallace, come away from it. Come back to me. Come home. I love you, Charles. Oh, Charles Wallace, I love you. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, but she was unaware of them. Now she was even able to look at him, at this animated thing that was not her own Charles Wallace at all. She was able to look and love. I love you, Charles Wallace. You are my darling and my dear and the light of my life and the treasure of my heart. I love you, I love you, I love you. Slowly, his mouth closed. Slowly, his eyes stopped their twirling. The tick in the forehead ceased its revolting twitch. Slowly, he advanced towards her. I love you, she cried. I love you, Charles. I love you. Then, suddenly, he was running, pelting. He was in her arms. He was shrieking with sobs. Meg! 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 I love you, Charles, she cried again, her sobs almost as loud as his, her tears mingling with his. I love you. I love you, I love you. A whirl of darkness, an icy cold blast, an angry, resentful howl that seemed to tear through her. Darkness again. Through the darkness to save her came a sense of Mrs. Whatsit's presence, so that she knew it could not be it who had her in its clutches. And then the feel of earth beneath her, something in her arms. She was rolling over on the sweet-smelling autumnal earth, and Charles Wallace was crying out, "Meg! Oh, Meg!" Now she was hugging him close to her, and his little arms were clasped tightly around her neck. "Meg, you saved me! You saved me!" he said over and over. "Meg!" came a call, and there were her father and Calvin hurrying through the darkness towards them. Still holding Charles, she struggled to stand up and look around. "Father! Cal! Where are we?" Charles Wallace, holding her hand tightly, was looking around too, and suddenly he laughed, his own sweet, contagious laugh. "In the twins' vegetable garden, and we landed in the broccoli." Meg began to laugh too, at the same time that she was trying to hug her father, to hug Calvin, and to not let go of Charles Wallace for 1 second. "Meg, you did it!" Calvin shouted. "You saved Charles!" "I am very proud of you, my daughter." Mr. Murray kissed her gravely, then turned towards the house. "Now I must go in to Mother." Meg could tell that he was trying to control his anxiety and eagerness. "Look!" She pointed to the house, and there were the twins, and Mrs. Murray walking toward them through long, wet grass. "First thing tomorrow I must get new glasses," Mr. Murray said, squinting in the moonlight, and then starting to run toward his wife. Dennis' voice came crossly over the lawn. "Hey, Meg, it's bedtime!" Sandy suddenly yelled, "Father!" Mr. Murray was running across the lawn, Mrs. Murray running towards him, and they were in each other's arms. And then there was a tremendous, happy jumble of arms, legs, and hugging. The older Murrays and Meg and Charles Wallace and the twins and Calvin grinning by them until Meg reached out and pulled him in, and Mrs. Murray gave him a special hug all of his own. They were talking and laughing all at once. They were startled by a crash, and Fortinbras, who could hear being left out of the happiness not 1 second longer, catapulted his sleek black body right through the screen door to the kitchen. He dashed across the lawn to join in the joy, and almost knocked them all over with the exuberance of his greeting. Meg knew all at once that Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch must be near, because all through her she felt a flooding of joy and of love that was even greater and deeper than the joy and love which were already there. She stopped laughing and listened, and Charles listened too. "Hush!" Then there was a whirring, and Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch were standing in front of them, and the joy and love were so tangible that Meg felt that if she only knew where to reach, she could touch it with her bare hands. Mrs. Whatsit said breathlessly, "Oh, my darlings, I'm sorry we don't have time to say goodbye to you properly. You see, we have to—" But they never learned what it was that Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch had to do, for there was a gust of wind, and they were gone. And there you have it. That was A Wrinkle in Time. I really appreciate everyone that stayed for this evening, and I appreciate everyone that stopped by over the time that I've been reading this, last 4 weeks actually. Next week I haven't quite decided what we will be doing, but it very will be. I've had some enthusiasm for the mouse and the motorcycle, so it is very possible that that is what we will be doing. I know that again we've had a crazy, insane week, and a lot of really awful things have happened. And have happened again that happened already. We talked about it earlier, and I think we'll leave it at that. But I will say this, because it's important now more than ever. Please, be kind to each other. And be kind to yourself, because kindness matters. And so do you. Keith Porter, Renee Good, Alex Preddy. Say their names. I'll see you Wednesday.